Okay. Well, I think you guys are the ones that are here. There's a bunch of other people that could not make it, so you guys are the committed ones. But we'll record this and put this up anyway. What was that?
I'm committed to many ways.
Absolutely. So anyway, one of the things, as we've mentioned in previous sessions, video is becoming increasingly important, both as a means of delivering content for the students. If you're doing a flipped classroom aspect where you're doing your theory presentations online and then using your classroom time for practical applications. If you're doing online courses, having recorded videos is significantly better than just text PowerPoint slides that says, read this, read the textbook, good luck, have a nice day. And also, as we sort of have talked about in a previous session, as a means of providing feedback, because what we find is there's a lot of academic research done in other disciplines that shows that if you provide just written feedback on student assignments, they get a very small portion of that they're able to retain. If you provide audio feedback, then they retain and implement a greater amount of that. If you provide video feedback, then it's even more extreme as far as the amount that they retain, whether it's a fact of they actually watch the video part as opposed to reading. You know, there was several studies that were done in other disciplines that looked at multi-section or multi-component assignments. And what they found was that a much greater percentage of feedback that was given on the first piece was implemented in subsequent aspects of it, showing that they were putting it to use. So what I wanted to do is to sort of get us into the computer lab and to show you some of the tools that are available.
Sorry.
No worries.
Excuse me.
Coming in. To show you some of the tools that are available so that we can get in to show you how simple and easy it is to do this. It doesn't require any high-end tools or technology. The majority of what we need to do to implement and to put some of this into place is extremely powerful. I want to also spend a little bit of time talking about YouTube because YouTube has a lot of opportunities that we can use to use it more effectively, particularly if you show videos in your classes at all, or if you have students watching videos, creating playlists on YouTube that could be private where you can have your content that you've created as well as other people's content on YouTube to say, here's your week 2 playlist. Watch these videos so the students don't have to go find them. You don't have to have that to be public. It can be unlisted so that links to D2L are there. The other thing that has happened is that D2Ls, we're not getting closer. D2L, the version that we have here at MUN, I think is about 3 versions behind the current one, but we finally got caught up to the version that allows you to embed YouTube videos into the D2L shell. Prior to this fall, or last fall, you only were able to provide a link to the YouTube video, which meant that they were being driven out of D2L to order to watch the video, and you had no tracking capabilities to that. One of the reasons why that's a super useful tool and a very valuable tool is that YouTube, when you upload a video to YouTube, within about 2 hours, it's been closed captioned and translated into 73 languages. And so the advantage of that, if we have students where English is not their primary language and they're trying to make connections between the words or the language we're using in our classes and what they may be more familiar with, being able to listen to our words in English and have the closed captioning on in their native language can help them make that connection and to sort of go, oh, that's what it's similar to, or that's where we're going. And Google's getting much better with their translation. What I find is that when we upload something, there may be one word out of every 30 or 40 seconds that has to be tweaked that they don't get right. And where this becomes valuable is also from a research perspective. Because if you do any interviews, if you do any focus group research, one of the things that you can do is to upload the videos or the recordings onto YouTube in a private video. Within a couple of hours, they've already been transcribed. You then export the transcriptions out of YouTube and then remove the video off of YouTube. So in a matter of about 3 hours, you can get all of your focus groups or interviews transcribed, and you only have to do maybe editing one word out of every 20 or 30 seconds, which is much faster, much more economical than actually going through a formal transcription process. And because it's private, nobody has access to it, and you pull it down, then you do have the protection from it as well. So what I want to do is just to sort of touch base and find out what your primary interests are so we can sort of work through things. We can take a look at Adobe Acrobat and how we can use that to provide both audio and potentially video feedback on PDF documents if the students are submitting in that content. We can take a look at Screencast-O-Matic, which is a tool to be able to record what you've got on your screen as a means of like recording your presentations that you want to put out. Or we can take a look at YouTube. We can take a look at all of them, but as far as an order of priority of where your interests are, we can sort of adjust based on what you're interested in at the moment.
Well, I'll go first.
David?
I'm interested in the Acrobat because I already own it.
Right.
I have something like version 9. Every time I'm paid for an upgrade, now I presume that I'm probably going to use features that are in 12 now, is it in?
It's DC is the new version.
Oh, DC,
Acrobat
yeah.
DC is the current version. And the advantage of that now as well is that they do have a mobile app. So for students that are using mobile devices, they can still access all of the interactive content on Acrobat through their mobile devices, whether it's a tablet or a smartphone on both Apple or Android. Previous versions of Acrobat did not have a mobile app that integrated all of the multimedia.
The students aren't likely to have Acrobat at all. They would have the reader.
That's all they need.
Oh.
And in fact, that's all you need. You can provide audio feedback on the free version of Acrobat. The only thing that requires the premium version is the video feedback. To actually embed video feedback onto the PDF document, that's the only thing that requires Pro. You can provide audio feedback with the free version of Acrobat DC without any issues.
No, I have Acrobat installed on 3 computers,
Yeah.
but I mean, only one is at work. I probably have to buy a university computer to have it. I know the new system over there, they won't put it on personal computers, right? They would only personally owned computers.
Yeah.
It has to be on university owned. Oh, okay. So.
But so the free version would still allow you to do the audio side.
Yeah.
And we can take a look at that. That would be a very quick piece. Anybody else have any preferences as far as pieces that are interesting for those of you that may have to leave at certain points or anything?
I'm interested in knowing how to provide audio or video feedback to students on documents they submit.
Okay.
Or even during the term, instead of taking the time to type it out and send it to them, being able to just give them a pop-up of how they're doing and
Yeah.
things that they can do better in the term. Just notice this.
Absolutely. And this is the strengths of that is not only does it benefit the students, but the time it takes you to provide feedback is about half to be able to provide video feedback as opposed to written feedback. And and it's there. And we've had several faculty members that have implemented that last semester, and they were like, man, yeah, this was so easy. It took me half the time to provide my grading. I'm doing this in all my classes, and students are providing unsolicited feedback, for people who have recorded their sessions and made them available for the students afterwards so that they can go back. And that's one of the things that, I can't imagine what I would be like if I was trying to study in another language. It would be challenging because there would be things where I'd be trying to think, and by the time I would think about something, the professor would be 3 or 4 concepts down the road. And that's one of the reasons why many years ago I started to record all of my presentations, even just an audio recording of all of my classes, and I upload it after the class so that the students can go in and re-listen to certain sections that they weren't certain about. And it's also great for winning arguments when the students say, well, you never talked about that in class. And you go, well, at the 14-minute mark of the recording on 14th day, yeah, I actually did, And so it sort of solves those arguments. Yeah, And particularly, what we find is that if you've got students that go, oh, I missed class on Thursday, I had a doctor's appointment, what did I miss? Go back and listen to the recording, watch the slides, listen to the recording, so they can go back and get everything that was there.
How to do that.
And so that's real simple and easy to do with the technology. Yep.
Just
Tom?
one quick tactical question.
Yep.
What file format do you use for that? Because with D2L, there's limits on how much you can upload, right? Because I've tried to upload 3 gigs and they say no, it's only 1.
Yeah, they limit to 1, and that's why I typically use YouTube, and then I embed the YouTube onto D2L if I'm doing video, and that way then there's no issues because it's just an embedded link, and then you gain the advantage. The only thing that I have to wait and see, I'll know probably in about 3 or 4 days because I'm teaching a distance course right now, is one of the issues with just using YouTube is that if you've got distant students who are in China, YouTube is not accessible in China. So I'm not certain if it's an embedded YouTube video in D2L, whether they're going to be able to access it or not. If they're not, so this is where what I've done with my D2L shell is I've created a separate, you have each of your days of classes. I have another one which is my videos, which are just uploaded into D2L so that the students who are in China, unfortunately, they can't take advantage of the translation side because D2L doesn't do that. But it means that there's the aspect there. So it's just simply a matter, and D2L has gotten much faster at the uploads. They used to be like really painful, like 3 or 4 years ago. It used to be like, upload the video and come back an hour later and it would sort of be finishing up. But now it's actually faster to upload a video to D2L than it is to YouTube. As far as the bandwidth time, because YouTube's taking much smaller packets to try to maintain the quality of it. So that's easy enough. We can cover all those pieces. Trevor, you had?
Any ethical concerns with recordings? I'm thinking of a lecture in terms of student questions and things like that.
As long as there's 2 aspects with that. If you are only going to be using that on D2L, accessible by the students who would already be in the room, then there's no issues. If you are shooting a video that you want to, like as an example, if you've got a guest speaker and you want to record them and have that available for other sections of the course or for future years where the speaker may not be available, then you need to advise the students before you start recording that says, I'm going to be recording this, and so that they can decide whether they want to comment or ask questions and have it on the recorded aspect. And anybody that's going to be captured by the camera, you need to have permission. But if the camera is only capturing you or the guest speaker and not the attendees, you don't need releases on it. Just they need to be notified that this is going to be recorded so that, but if it's for in class and going on to D2L, the expectations of privacy is that those students who have access to that content would have been able to be in that class anyway, so it's already covered from that. So that's where it's a very valid aspect because privacy is a big thing.
The research side,
absolutely.
There's a whole different series of protocols that are in place around any capturing of data.
Absolutely. And that's where sort of, it's just make sure you let them know that it's being done, and if they're going to be captured on camera, then they have that.
There's always more restrictions on, and
Yeah.
they be above the age of consent, which in this province for some reason is 19.
Yeah.
We grandfather those at 18 who are students. Okay.
Yeah. So those are the pieces that come into play.
Grandfathers.
Yeah, we
Oh, sorry.
it is possible. You never know. Who knows?
I could see this really helpful for, even if you don't record every, because I haven't recorded any of my classes and posted them anywhere. But I could really see it helpful for when you're introducing core important issues or overviews, even for like your first class or your second class.
Yeah.
I could really see it.
One of the missions that I would like to do, and it's one of the things that we're doing. I've talked to Catherine Gallagher, whom we've lost to retirement, and Jim Barnes. And one of the things that I want to do is to get short little video snippets of them talking about get Jim Barnes to talk about customer relationship management and have that as an archived video that any sessional or any faculty member who's teaching and talking about CRM can pull up a 3-minute video clip of Jim talking about it. Because we've got amazing knowledge that we're losing through retirement, that it would be great to be able to retain that and have it accessible, so that, the people that are great at doing these things, let's get them to talk about it. And so video is one of those things that is growing in massive elements. And, so let's take a look at Acrobat. With Acrobat, we'll pull up just the regular Acrobat DC, and then I'll pull up the Acrobat Pro to show you the difference between being able to provide the audio versus the video. So all of your computers will have Acrobat DC on them. How many of you are on PCs versus Mac? How many PCs? All PCs. You're both? Okay. So this is where there's a lot of benefits to Mac from the side of doing screencasting and recording, and we'll show you that. But when you just open up Acrobat DC, it should be on your front screen that goes in there. And so this is where I don't need to get the preview. Skip. Do we have any PDF documents on here? Probably not. All right, so if you open up your browser and just go to,
That's Chrome on this one, right?
That could be anything. Chrome would be the easiest one.
Okay.
Because the best thing about Explorer is it's a great browser to download another browser. It is.
I can't remember my code for here.
Here, I'll log in.
Automatically on mine.
I'll log in with mine. I know, it's always one of those things.
I got 4 pages of codes.
Well, I've got PDF done.
Thank you.
If you just Google MUN PDF, then something will come up in the Google search.
The one technical problem I'm having is that under my documents, I have to do it separately in every classroom. It's supposed to be automatic for someone who's plugging it, and it doesn't do that.
Right, so if you just Google mun.pdf, then if you click on it, one of the things that if you're providing feedback using Acrobat or doing any interactive elements with Acrobat, one of the things that's really important for you to tell the students is they must use Acrobat DC. Because if they don't, they won't be able to access any of the comments or any of the feedback. The reason being is all browsers have a built-in PDF viewer as part of them, and those built-in viewers don't have access to the Macromedia content, and so they won't be able to access it. So like here, if this was a form that had feedback and comments on it, and I've just opened it up here within the browser, I wouldn't see any of the comments. And so this is where what you need to do is if you go onto it and you download, so I'm just going to download this to my desktop. And so now that that's on my desktop, in Acrobat, I click Open, go to my desktop, and pull up that expense folder. So now that I've got that PDF document opened up in Acrobat, this is where I have access to tools. And this is just the free version. This is not the premium version. And so what we've got is the things that we typically see as we go, and they've moved a lot of the navigation stuff over here on the side. And you'll notice that about third down, and if you can't find that, there's a little pull-out arrow over on the far right-hand side of the screen. That will bring that up into place. And so this is where, if you click on comment, this is the one that people will typically use. And when we click on that comment bar, we can see that there's a variety of things that we can provide from a commentary.
Actually,
Yep.
how did you get that document? I typed mun.pdf and I got a whole list of...
Right, so click on one of them. Just click on anything.
Anything?
Anything, yeah.
Okay.
And then click download to put it onto your desktop, and then go into Acrobat and open up that document. Just click on desktop, so save it onto desktop. and then click Save.
Well, that's interesting. I never did. I went to click downloads before. Maybe that's my problem. All right. So
And then so now go into Acrobat
yeah.
and go File, Open.
File
Up
left.
top.
Oh yeah, file.
Top left, File, Open. And then click Desktop. And then it'll be there.
I've been saving stuff too. Well, now I'm going to go into my other rooms and see if that's there, because nothing was ever saved right.
Yeah,
You download it,
when it downloads, it puts it in the download folder. But if you save it, you can save it onto
Well,
the
I
desktop.
transferred
Just makes it
David
more
to
accessible.
Documents or
Yeah.
something. That was supposed to work, but it didn't seem to work.
Yeah.
So I'll see if that works.
Yeah.
If a campus map appears,
Then you're good.
Yeah.
Now, so this way here, you know, as you've got this set up, a lot of times people, if they were simply providing written feedback using Acrobat, would simply click onto the speech bubble up top here, and then you can drag that bubble to where you want, and then it gives you the ability to type your comments to the students. Now, the problems with that is that takes time. Students have to find every little bubble that's going on and whether they read everything. And I find it takes me, there's two things that I have noticed about myself personally when I provide the written feedback is, number one, it takes me a long time because if I'm telling the students they're using bad grammar, I got to make absolutely sure I'm not using bad grammar when I'm telling them they're using bad grammar. And so I'm much more focused on what I'm doing. And the other thing that I find is if you've got a particularly challenging assignment, I find that my written comments, when I go back and look at them before I send them out, I tend to get more harsh in the written comments. Just when I go back and look at what I'm saying, I may not have intended it to, but the tone, the way it appears seems to go there. And I find that when I'm providing the oral comments, I can make the same judgments, but they don't come out as harshly and seem like I'm being, you know, you're able to sort of laugh about it a little bit when you've got the audio side. So this is where if you wanted to, instead of simply providing those text-based comments that are there, you can highlight, you can bring out other things, but over here on the far right-hand side, you'll see that there is a little paper clip. And on that paper clip, if you click on the arrow, you have the ability to either, no worries, attach a file, like if you've got something externally that you wanted to attach, like a document being on. But the big one here is the one that's just below. And so just below that is one that says record audio. And so this is where, providing you've got a microphone on your computer, you know, or if you attach an external camera to it so that you've got that part coming in, this gives you the ability to then record the audio and to connect all that.
I'm missing that second bar, that whole line.
Okay, so over on the right-hand side, if you scroll down,
Okay.
use the scroll bar. No,
Oh, this one.
scroll bar over there.
The heck, we want to move this?
Yeah, scroll down and click on comment,
Oh, right.
and that will open up the comment bar
Oh,
up top
sorry,
now.
okay, now-
That's all right.
Now let's
So,
put a paper clip.
so there's a paper clip, and there, if you click on that, then that gives the ability to record the audio directly. And so all you do is you click record audio, and providing you've got a microphone attached, you decide, same thing, where do you want to put that feedback? So you put the cursor where you want to provide that feedback, and then all you do is, if you had a sound recorder, you would simply press OK, and it would record what you were saying. And so when you do that, then that puts it there. We don't have a recorder set up on this one, so it's not showing up. Let me go to my laptop. So as an example, let me just find another PDF here. All right, so if I open up a PDF document in mine here, go away, and I go to that bring up the comment bar. Come on, come on, come on. So this is where I can go there, I click record audio, and as I put it, because I've got a microphone attached to this computer, all I need to do is I simply click record, and I can be talking away and providing my feedback, talking about how well they did or what things they missed with that particular aspect. And then I simply click stop, and I can then play it to see, well, what did I actually say?
You gonna do that now?
Hmm?
You gonna try that?
We can't because we don't have a.
No, but are you gonna play it now so we can hear how?
I could if I had the audio I believe is muted right now. It's not coming through very loud, but it's there. And so that way there, you simply say okay, and you can choose what do you want that to look like. So instead of being that little yellow speech bubble, you can say I want it to look like an ear, a sound icon, or a microphone. And you can change and customize the color, set that up to whatever aspect you want. So if you wanted to have it sort of be, I use the sound one typically with mine, and then I simply click OK. And so now, at that part in the document, it shows that there is an attached sound clip, and the students, when they're looking at that, all they need to do is to click on that little microphone, and they will hear my comments and feedback. So just this basic piece that is available, even in the free version of Acrobat, saves a considerable amount of time because you don't have to be, you get a lot more free thought going, and I find that I provide a lot more detailed comments, and it's super easy as you're sort of reading through. You've got things you want to say, you just click on it, talk to them, and then go to the next one. And the students seem to like it because they're hearing you, and particularly if we're teaching through a distance course, then they don't get that same face-to-face time with us, and that being able to hear our voice is actually much more meaningful for them as opposed to simply seeing written words that are there. And so that's where there's some interesting pieces that can come into play.
I'm missing something here. You've done this on that file.
Yep.
How does it get onto D2L in the right place to the right student?
I'll show you. I'll show you in the D2L. You simply upload it as your feedback. So the students have provided the file in D2L. You simply provide the feedback on it in D2L.
I'll ask you to upload a file if
Yeah.
you want to. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so you upload the
It means, doesn't it first means I have to save that file on my hard drive, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But within D2L, you can provide general audio feedback on the assignment without needing to use Acrobat. So you can provide audio feedback directly within D2L.
For each student
Yes.
individually. I've
Yeah.
done it on the news posting.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you can do it on an individual feedback on assignment. I can pull up D2L and sort of show that as well.
Because for those of us who, I don't teach distance, and
Yeah.
all of my submissions are hard copy.
Yeah.
But what I would like to do is exactly what you're saying. Instead of putting in, just sit down and walk through, and I want you to have a look at this. This is the strength, this
Yeah.
is the weakness. Okay, great.
And so that's where if you're using hard copies, it's a little bit more challenging. But one of the things that some people have done is to actually use just a typical webcam like this, and they just set it up on a stand or something above so that they're shooting over top of the document, and so you could be showing it. The advantage of having them do an electronic submission is it's much easier to be able to attach things and to be able to have it set up from that as opposed to the hard copy with is what's there. So there's ways to do it to bring in some of the electronic feedback even when you're dealing with a hard copy format, but electronic copies are obviously going to be a lot easier to be able to make that work. And so this is where the same thing, like I've got rubric evaluation sheets, and in the little spots where you would put the grade, I simply put, a microphone. And so they can click and they, okay, your grade, and rather than just putting a number, I'll sort of give them their feedback and then the grade comes up, as opposed to them just simply looking at the number. Because quite often if you give them, your grade is 14 out of 20, and then you give them like 3 pages of feedback, they stop reading after my grade is 14 out of 20. You know, and so this is where it's the other advantage is they can't physically see what their grade is on that document until they go into the feedback if you're providing it in that format. You know, and so you may get more, you know, there hasn't been a lot of research that I've seen that identifies why that audio is better, why there's more utilization, you know, what is the behavioral aspect of it, you know, are they listening, are they skipping it when they're doing it in a written format. So there's a gap right there. We don't know what the mechanism is behind it, we just know that it's happening. You know, and so there's an area to sort of explore a little bit further from there.
But personally, I'm never like that. If I have a choice between you can hear the audio of something or you can have a PDF file and you can read it, I will take the PDF file because I can read 5 times faster than I can hear someone speak. So I'm different, but maybe.
Yeah. Well, today's generation doesn't read. You know, today's generation is the YouTube generation. You know, it's there's no need to read a book because there's a YouTube video about it. You know, and so that's one of the things where depending upon the types of students that you have, there's going to be generational differences between them and understanding. And this is one of the advantages of providing information perhaps in multiple formats. So that, you know, if students that get the information best by reading can read the crap out of their textbook and be ready to go. Those that get best by doing practical assignments or applying it, if you've got those exercises built in, if you're doing audio or video recordings of your presentations, if they're better from hearing and seeing, then it incorporates that. And it's really about using multiple methods that addresses the different strengths of learning that the individual students may have. And that's really what it is, you know, but without sort of saying, okay, I'm going to rebuild this class 5 times. You know, find a way to be able to deliver it effectively using that. Now, this format here, I'm just going to click this.
Lyle,
Yes.
Sorry, this is Dean. When you're marking,
Yep.
do you give the feedback right away, or do you read it through once and then give the feedback after?
I generally do 2 things. One of the things is like when I come up with something, I'll make my general comments and then I'll have an overall audio feedback because, you know, I don't want to sort of provide a big piece of feedback and not have it know where it's attached. And so this is where I may do short little comments and then I'll do an overall feedback on the assignment and the grade sort of at the top as it goes through with the detailed ones as it's going along.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. Now, because I'm using Acrobat Pro on this one, over here, if I close out of my comment bar, which is the one on the right-hand side, that gives me my whole aspect here. So this is only available on the Pro version of Acrobat DC, not the free version. On the Pro version, I can click on Rich Media, and that gives me the ability where I can add 3D images, I can add a button or an interactive element, I can add sound, so that gives me the same thing that I had going through the comment section. I can also simply click to add video. And so when I click add video, this gives me the ability to draw a box in a particular section, and I can then attach a video of feedback. So this is where, as an example, if I had an assignment, like for stuff that you're doing, David, if you had a video on how to do certain things and they do an assignment and everybody's missing the same process and technique, you could just simply attach the video onto that question so that they can go, well, geez, how do I do this? They can just click and watch the video showing the process of it so that they pick up on it a little bit better. You know, and so this is where different types of feedback are going to depend upon the type of assignment that you've got, the context, is it face-to-face, is it distance, is it general? From my experience, audio feedback, just simply providing audio feedback alone, works really great when you're talking about general performance, like course contribution, engagement, or providing suggestions or recommendations. Embedding onto PDFs with either audio or video is better when you have submitted assignments. So you can provide just an audio file to somebody to talk to them about their contribution for that semester, as opposed to having a rubric sheet that you fill out and put the grades in. to actually be telling them why and what you think about and what things they could do to improve. It's a lot easier to sort of do it just in a quick little upload. And that's where, if we go into D2L, let me just go into my D2L shell here. So if I go into D2L, I'm going to go into, let's go into one of my courses from last year. Let's see if I can get access to it. So if I go into Dropbox as an example, and I go into one of the student submissions that was there. So if I pull up a submission that the student did, this is where the students have uploaded a PDF document into Dropbox on D2L. All right, so I could then view what they said on there as the PDF. I could either, over here on the right-hand side, where it shows you to provide feedback, I could either add a file if I want to upload a PDF that has all of the commenting and everything on it, whether it's written feedback. Let's switch over, or I can simply click record audio directly within D2L, and by simply clicking record audio, it brings up the recording window, and I can then go through. I've got to set it up again. So I could simply click the record feature on there, and it would then record the audio that I've got, and then it saves it as part of the feedback directly within D2L. So when the students go to get their feedback on a particular assignment that they've uploaded to D2L, their feedback, rather than being text written, is simply an audio, and they hit the play button and they hear your feedback there. So this is where, for providing feedback on course contribution, engagement, things like that, simply using the audio recorder that's directly built into D2L can be a useful tool to be able to bring that in to make life a little bit easier.
That would be really useful if you have participation marks in a course, and if you ask my students at the end of the term, provide a form whereby they justify the mark that they think they deserve,
Yeah.
Out of 10. But halfway through the term, having them do it.
Yeah.
Because there's a series of things that I include by which to guide them to get the marks they want to get.
Yeah, absolutely.
And halfway through the term they could do that, and I can just give audio back and say, you're right on, you exactly are getting 8 out of 10.
Yeah, this is where, or you're missing the boat on this, you need to provide a little bit more for that.
Yeah.
And this is where, what we're essentially doing is we're trying to take the grading and make it sort of like, okay, we're going to have a quick little personal meeting, you and me, and we're going to have a talk about your progress so far. And you're never going to get the students coming to your office for those personal meetings, but if you're providing the feedback this way, it allows you to be more constructive, providing more guidance, as opposed to simply providing an evaluative standpoint. And so that's what we sort of find with it, and it works, and it gives them that bit of guidance. And the students seem to really appreciate it being in that sort of that audio or video structure. So it makes it a little bit easier from that context. Now, the other part, while I'm here, I'm just going to go back to the current version for my class, for my online class that started today. If I go into my online class, so this is where, as an example, if I take a look at my first week. So what I do in my D2L shell for my online course is I break it down into their preparations, then presentations on the different chapters that we're doing, and then their assignments. And so as an example, if I pull up their preparations, this is where we have the overview, then I have a little welcome video that they did. So this is just a short little video that I shot, uploaded onto YouTube, and then using this, they can go there and it's embedded in, and they can simply click play, spin, spin, spin. And because this is on YouTube, I uploaded this last night, so I haven't gone and checked the commentary.
Welcome to Business 2210.
And so this is where, because it's uploaded to YouTube, this got uploaded last night about 10:30. The closed captioning has already been done. So this is where, within about 2 hours of you uploading a video onto YouTube, it's automatically been closed captioned and also translated into 73 languages.
Does closed captioning show up immediately, or is there something you have to do?
You have to click on a YouTube video, you click on the CC button, and once you click on that CC button, that helps the closed captioning appear.
The students may not know that.
Yeah, and so this is where, when you're providing them with directions, anybody that uses that, and the other part here is that when you're using closed captioning, if I click on the settings gear over under the right-hand side while I'm on closed captioning, this is where I can change the speed. So if I can listen faster than the voice, they can listen to it in a hyper spate. I can take a look, and here right now it's using English, and if I click auto translate, I can then choose from 73 different languages. So if for whatever, somebody is Haitian Creole, they can click on that, and then as they're listening to me,
Introduction to Marketing Tactics. In your previous class in 12,
there,
Where was that?
that the translation is in the gear to the right of the closed captioning. And so,
in French, let's see what it sounds like.
well, it doesn't sound the same. It's my voice. It's just showing you the written version of it. The close, it doesn't translate the version. Like I don't automatically start speaking Creole. That'd be really cool if it did. They are working on that. They are working on that, and there's stuff that's moving a little bit closer. But this is where, the point of this is it's not to say if you're going to attend class here, you don't need to speak English, but it's saying that if you're trying to understand what does this word that we're talking about in business mean, what does it relate to in your language, this can help them make the connections, and so they go, oh, that's what the hell you're talking about. And so that's where the advantage of doing this as an upload onto YouTube, and the fact that you can now embed those YouTube videos, is a huge advantage because it's, we have a fairly large international student base. Whether it's from China or whether it's from India or from another, if there's certain things that could be more beneficial to be able to watch that. The other thing, I had one student, and she had a newborn baby. And she said she loved the fact that the presentations and everything were on YouTube, because when she's trying to put the baby down at night, she can't have the video playing and have my voice. She would turn on the closed captioning, and she would be able to still do her homework, watch the presentation while she was trying to put the newborn down. And so this is where there's a lot of advantages. In the United States, they actually have very stringent regulations that any presentation content you put online must be closed captioned, because anybody who has hearing impairments has to be able to access the content. And so this is where closed captioning is like, you cannot put a presentation on D2L in the United States unless it's closed captioned. They have legal requirements, and there's been some major $1 million fines to some universities that had content up that wasn't effectively closed captioned. And so this is the advantage of being able to tap into YouTube as a tool to bring that in together to sort of make that work and connect.
Because there's some concepts, as you said, that don't exist in other cultures the way they do in ours. Some people have trouble even getting their head around that. But in one of my classes,
I'll be back in an hour, guys.
Thanks, Tom.
students had major misunderstanding from a particular culture about persuasive presentations.
Yeah.
They just couldn't get the idea of what persuasiveness means.
Yeah.
And you would actually do that and talk about it.
Yeah, and so the advantage of this as well is in a YouTube channel. If you've got your content on a YouTube channel, you have full analytics in there about how many minutes did they watch, where was the drop off, how many of them watched it on a mobile device, how many were on their TV set, how many were on their gaming system, how many were on their desktop, how many of them translated it to closed captioning, which language did they use. Mobile's by far the greatest one. A lot of them are using closed captioning.
Are they going back like in large numbers for all this effort that you're doing?
What I'm seeing is when I take a look, we have a fairly good uptake first of all, and then you see as the date goes, when you get close to midterm, they're going back and rewatching the videos because you see them going back. So it's using as a review process for them as well. Because sometimes you take a look and you look at the notes you've written. I do this when I'm in sessions. I write notes, go, what the hell did I mean here? You know, to be able to go back and re-listen to the presentation, you know, and so this is where, because this is my distance course, I put a welcome video up here so that it attaches a face to the name that, you know, they know I am a real human breathing butter. In my in-person classes, I don't do a welcome video because that welcome is going to be what I would do in the first session of the class. So they do have that face-to-face, but I still do provide face-to-face recording. With my in-class sessions, what I will typically do is I've got just a basic GoPro. I'll just prop this up in front of the class, hit record, and I'll actually record the class so that I've got my commentary, so that I've got, you know, my feedback. Because, you know, when you've got your slides, which provide you the base structure, but everything the students need is not going to be on the slides. You know, that's not typically effective teaching, because if that's the case, why would they bother come to class? Just download the slides and we got everything we need. So this is where they get the advantage of doing that. And somebody, you know, I have had people say, well, if you provide them with a recording of the class, they're never going to come to class. No, because it's going to take them as long to get through that recording as it was to actually be in class. And I make sure that there's interactive assignments and elements that we're doing in the class that they're missing out on that ability to engage, to ask questions, to get the hands-on. The fact that they can listen and watch it afterwards, you may get one or two students that goes, hey, awesome, great. But guess what? Those are one or two students who weren't going to be there in the class, whether you were providing video or not. You know, and so I have not.
They may have good reason from
Yeah.
time to time to not be there.
You know, and this is the advantage. Somebody's got a doctor's appointment. They've got a health situation in their families. You know, this is where if somebody is unable to attend, or when you're dealing with mature students who may have gotten called out of town for work and just can't make that session, they can go in and watch the entire session that's there, and they can pick up on everything. And if we do have individuals where English is not their primary language and that closed captioning can be assisting them, then they've got that ability to have that second pass at it and to review it. Sorry?
You go first.
I just checked the Chinese translation about the video.
Yeah, well, that part.
Well, is it? Okay. Thank you.
But can you understand some of the intent?
Yeah.
Is it better than nothing? And you see, and this is where one of the things with regards to the closed captioning is I haven't edited the closed captioning yet. And so you need to make sure that you've edited the closed captioning, because if there's errors in the English version, because what it's doing is it's literally translating the English transcript into the other languages. And so what you need to do is, the typical process is within a day of uploading a video onto YouTube, you go in and you edit and fix the words that the closed captioning got wrong, so that you've got a clean English transcript. And then the minute you change that, all of the other translated versions are based on that. So,
When I look at the English.
is the English
I think
correct?
It's okay.
Okay.
Not perfectly
Yeah.
correct, but it's understandable at least.
Okay.
But the Chinese version is just.
Yeah, they're getting better, and you know it is improving.
Okay.
I mean, is it better than not having anything? You know, potentially. You know, and that's why it's not just a complete replacement. They're still getting the listening.
Listen to it in English at a slower speed.
Yeah.
Or multiple
Maybe
times.
somebody who can help
Yeah,
with
that was one of the things. Diane Ford was recorded a lot of her classes, and she had several unsolicited feedback. That was a case of, it was so great to be able to go back and re-listen to those sections that I didn't pick up on, because after the third or fourth time, I understood more about what you were talking about.
Ask you a question then.
Yeah, you know, and that's the piece where, you know, there's different elements that are going to come into play. You know, the repetitiveness of it, the fact that they've got it for review to go back, the fact that, you know, if somebody's got a question about, you know, what did you cover, it's there. if you've ever got anybody that's arguing about a question that you had on the final exam that, well, you didn't cover that in class, I've got a complete record of every word I've ever said in every one of my classes on my D2L cell, because every one of my classes are recorded. You got to make sure you don't say anything that's going to get your butt into trouble, because there is a legitimate record there.
Some people may be better.
This is why you have to use what works best for you.
So my big brother's watching cynical side
Yep.
of the show a bit. Any concerns at all with YouTube, even if you put it in private, that somehow it is not captured and then can't be reused? And right, because I know Facebook and some others, it's very clear on the
Yeah.
copyright and who owns it.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I may observe YouTube, I don't post for lack of a
Yeah.
term, but is there any sort of, you got it in privately, you bring it back?
YouTube is one of the best as far as protecting that side. I mean, if you upload a YouTube video that's got copyrighted content on it, within about 15 seconds, they've picked up on it and they flagged it and blocked it.
How would they know?
Because they've got algorithms that are scanning the content of every single thing and matching it up.
I've certainly seen that in searches where you
Yeah.
see a pop-up that says, something has been blocked due to copyright.
Yeah, or you see that with videos where somebody puts a copyrighted song on, and in the old days you weren't allowed to do that. And so what would happen is they would just go, audio has been removed because of copyright infringement. So you'd still have the video, but there'd be no soundtrack to it. Now what they've done is they've got a licensing agreement with most of the modern songs. You can use it, but the minute you use one of those songs, with the exception of Germany, it's able to be played, but it allows Google to put ads on the video, and the people who own the music get the money from those ads, not you. So by using copyrighted music, you can do it now. You didn't used to up until about a year ago, but now you can do it, but it immediately allows ads to be placed on your video, and then it becomes monetized. But Google is, YouTube is one of the ones, because they've got the unlisted and the private upload of it. The private is completely private with regards to that, and that's where the protection is there with regards to bringing it together. Yep.
Talk just one more second about
Yep.
this. Every term I'll change a couple of things, but I'm really going to prepare a welcome video, even though I've already had my first class.
Yep.
And if I could just suggest, it's because so many of students miss the first class. Lots of reasons, lots of them good.
Yep.
One of them, they can't get into the course.
Yep.
So sometimes students don't join the course until a couple of weeks in, and it's not their fault.
Absolutely, and that's
Waitlisted.
that's one of the other advantages of I find of recording my classes is if we've had a student who had immigration issues where they were waiting for their permit to be able to come in, or flight issues with whether they missed the first couple of classes they get in, they're not at a disadvantage because they can go in and access and watch or listen to the entire class that I delivered if it's in a face-to-face environment. They're not missing out on anything. They have catching up to do, but it's not that they're missing some of the things. You go, well, did I mention something in class that I didn't have written down on my slides or whatever? That's going to be captured from there. And so the students, if they're going to have to spend an hour watching the video or an hour in class, most of them, unless they've got a reason for not being there, are going to choose to do the hour in the class as opposed to the video. But you're going to have students that aren't going to access it. I had a student who was unsuccessful in 2210 last semester, and when I went and took a look, it was because they accessed the D2L content for 20 minutes on week 1 and had not done that. And their feedback to me was, well, every other course I've taken, I just read the textbook and pass the exams. And I said, well, you missed a whole bunch of assignments that were required of this. It was like, those students, you're not going to, regardless of how much stuff you put up there to help them, it's not going to do anything. This is really what you're going to find is a lot of times people think, well, these things, all the keen students are going to do this. It's not the keen students. It's the ones that are working hard and maybe struggling a bit. So it's that middle pack that tends to sort of be missed over a lot that really take advantage of this. Those that want to do well and are just not having the success at it. they're the ones that really take advantage, from my experience, and capitalize on this. The good students are going to be able to be good students if you put a monkey up there and sort of have them throw toilet paper around the room. They'll do well. You know, the bad students, you could do everything, and some of them are still not going to be able to, if they're not doing the work and putting the effort in. These tools and techniques are really to help those that are in the middle.
Who very often don't have any supports. Like some of these upper students go home to a father or a mother like you or me,
Yeah.
who sits down at the kitchen table and speaks to them every night. And they have somebody to sound off to help them. There's a lot of kids in this middle group
Yeah.
you're speaking of that.
Or it
there's no
could be somebody
conversation.
that's here from a different country that just doesn't have a support network here. These are where, you know, anything we can do to help sort of take that middle pack and help them achieve their potential.
Do you videotape every class or audio?
It depends. In last probably 6 months, I've typically videotaped most classes. Other classes, I'll just do an audio recording.
And you post that privately to you?
I post it as a private, an unlisted video on YouTube. When you upload something to YouTube, there's 3 ways that you can put it up there. You can put it as a public video, which means it's searchable and anybody can access it. You can make it as an unlisted video, which means that anybody with the URL can access it. And that's what you need to do if you're going to embed your videos into D2L. Because D2L needs, all you do is you go into D2L and you put the video in, the link. And so that needs to be able to access. A private video is the next level where you can define that only these people.
You give them the code.
They have, it's based on their Google login. So they're the only ones you say, Billy is the only person that is going to be able to see this video. Anybody else can go to the URL. If they're not Billy, with Billy's Google login, they cannot access that content. And the private videos used to be limited to 25 individuals. The new limits are 5,000. So,
Interesting definition of private. All right.
but it's private because only it's requiring a login for them to be able to access the content. So you can define the specific individuals that are able to see that. So this is where, from an HR perspective, unlisted videos used to be what internal organizations had to do, but there was always the risk that somebody would share that URL. Now you can put
Research data. I gotta be honest, I start tingling a bit going, okay. Because in a protocol, you generally have to get the transcriber sign off and those things. So I love it in one sense. I know Tom's not here, but I'd be very interested to hear what the ICER reply to that. It certainly saves time on transcription, but
I mean, you know, it's
Not there yet.
And that's where the one thing is, when you upload the video privately, that still gets transcribed. So private.
But I guess the issue, this is me with the research hat on, so I apologize.
Yeah.
Is more is it purely an electronic, which I suspect it is, given the years you're
Yes.
book. I find the
Yeah.
same in
Yes.
French if I'm going through. But does anyone actually have the ability to see or have access to the data?
Not on a private video. On unlisted videos, yes. So Google has access to the unlisted videos. Google has access to the public videos, obviously. But private videos, only those individuals that are defined. So if you do not grant anybody access, you're the only one that actually has the access to that. You know, and so this is where the other way, if you've got an ethics evaluation group that's concerned a little bit more, then what you can do is to make sure that there's no personal identifiers in the recording that you upload for the transcription. That is simply like subject 42B.
Yeah.
And
No, I don't want to
there's,
side rail. Just
yeah,
in the back
no,
of my
but
head,
it's,
talking about this because I'm thinking, okay, from an ethics protocol, different to teaching. So I don't
yeah,
want to side rail.
but it is an important part as well, because that's a valuable utilization and time savings to be able to do that. And so there's ways by just having the codes that there's no identifiable, the content of what they said would be identifiable, but you could not attach it to any individual if the person's name is not mentioned in the recording.
To be honest, not side railing, but under free and informed consent, I think as long as it was explicit around how the transcription would be done,
Yeah,
the ethics group would say, well, it's been free and informed.
yeah,
The person could then choose not to allow that for the
yeah.
transcription of it.
That's what we've done.
Yeah.
I've done that with the short grant that I'm doing with healthcare. because we had like 147 interviews, 52 focus groups. Took me a day to get the transcriptions. And then we had our student go through and just edit to make, clean things up. Because, I mean, there's going to be some cleanup that has to be done, but if you pay somebody to transcribe, there's cleanup that you have to go through generally anyway, unless it's somebody that's intimate with the topic that you're covering. So there are ways to sort of incorporate it, but yes, you have to make sure that you've got the ethics aspects covered.
And there's no reason that video, a welcome video, has to be totally private.
No, you could make this one public.
It has to be a public sharing.
Yep.
So that a student who, and I understand why, are getting more selective about the courses they do, they could go in and have a look at you and just decide, I've met him before, I don't want to work with him, or I do want to work with him.
Yep. And so this is where one of the things that,
So that they can see your communication style.
Yeah.
I wish it was reciprocal.
We can decide which student. Yeah.
They're paying
Yeah.
our way.
I'm going to start the new website, ratethestudent.com.
Yeah, that's not as popular as it once was either.
Yeah. Now, so this is where, so one of the examples is if you wanted to if you had a course that may be struggling to get numbers, if it's something that people may not understand what the content is, you could do a quick little video pitch saying, well, this is what we cover in this class, this is what we cover in that class, and the students could then have access to it to be able to say, which of these electives am I interested in doing? And, if you've got the different profs who are teaching it, your style of teaching is going to come out in that intro, and they're going to be able to sort of go, I align better with this style than with this. And there's that matching alignment is not saying one style is better than another, but some students will match and align with certain profs better than others because their style and technique matches their learning. And, for whatever the reasons.
If nobody's signing for your course, that tells you something. But that's another conversation.
I'm just saying.
I don't want to put incentives in place to enable low class numbers. Well, actually, it's the speed, because I know it's a challenge I have with my English as a second language students, is I speak quickly.
Yeah.
Ah.
So do
I
I.
find the same thing when French is my second language, that speed can be an issue if I've been out of the French environment for a while. It takes my ear a while to get back in. So even the ability to play with the speed when listening is huge.
Yeah. And the ability to sort of pause it, and if the translation's not doing a good job, when they come up with something, and I realize that there's glitches, they're not perfect, they are getting better, but you can then simply hit the pause button, go into your dictionary and say, what the hell does that word mean? And then hit play, and you can't sort of go to the prof, say, just pause while you're in the class, pause the prof while you sort of find what they're talking about, and then, okay, play, that's a little bit too extreme. But this is really where we're just trying to find ways so that the education and the learning that the students are experiencing is not inhibited because of their intelligence or desire or ability, but because of the methodologies or techniques. We don't want to be what's causing them not to achieve their greatest opportunities and success. Anything we can do to sort of help bring everybody up and help them learn better.
We have an obligation.
Absolutely.
I totally believe that to our international students and our domestic students.
Yep.
To help them in various ways.
And so this is where, as they go through, the advantage of these as well is, you can simply upload them real quick and easy. So if I go back here, let me go back to just show you how you would go to upload a video so if I go to week 2 as an example, if I wanted to add a piece of content, this is what has been added onto D2L last fall. It was not here previously. Up until last fall, upload files was at the top, create a file, create a link. So previously, last year, all you could do was to put a link to the YouTube video and drive them away. The 2 new ones that were added in was the ability to add video or audio or a capture. So capture is if you're using like Captivate, which is a integrated video where you can have quizzes and self-grading in the presentations. It's a higher end sort of self-presentation mechanism. But here, if you simply click on video or audio,
And we're just on the course content page here.
yep,
right, Lyle?
yep. So it's just like you would, just same thing as you're adding anything into any little section.
I've added videos
Yep.
before, but I didn't.
And so this is here, you enter the URL or you embed the code. and then it says what video sites can be embedded. And so this is where it shows you if you've got something on the Discovery Channel, something on Khan Academy, National Geographic, TED Talks, YouTube, Vimeo. So if you find a really good TED Talk that you want to incorporate in, you can actually embed that TED Talk directly into their weekly preparations. The advantage of when it's embedded as opposed to sending them outside is you've got that full trackability of which students have actually watched that content.
Oh.
All right? And so this is where, if we go back, if you haven't sort of seen that piece, because it's an extremely useful tool, if I go back here and take a look at the preparations that we've got, in everything that you upload into D2L, if you edit the properties, there is a part here that says required automatic, required manual, or not required. If you have it set for required automatic, it gives you full tracking of which students have actually engaged with that piece of the content. Now with video, it will actually tell you, did they watch the whole thing or did they watch part of it? So just simply opening it up, the manual part, what manual does is the students can say, I've done that. So the students can manually say they've completed it. The automatic one means the system is tracking whether they've done it or not.
Default.
That's not the default. The default is actually not required. So this is where one of the things is you upload a piece of content, you have to take, there may be a way in D2L to change the default to be automatic. I'm not a super D2L expert, so I haven't sort of found that piece. I just find it a clunky piece of software to work with, so I try to figure out what I need to do and how to do that. But if you set it to that automatic, then when you go in, as an example, if I go back to one of my classes from last year, and I take a look at my class list, and if I go to a particular student, I can view their progress. And when I view their progress, this is where it'll show me when did they last access, and I can pull in and take a look at every piece of content. If the course is active, every module, every piece of content there, and it would show, did they start it? Have they not started it? Have they finished it? So I can see every single piece of the preparations.
Tell students you can do that?
No. Until they go, well, you know, I don't know why I got such a low grade on this assignment.
I struggle with whether I should do
You know.
them or not. What do you think, Trevor?
I mean,
I think in this day and age, by virtue of logging in your system with a password,
they should know that
you
they're
have access to
trackable.
content that you should know you should be trackable.
Yeah, they don't though.
Um,
At least first year students, second year
yeah,
students
and
that I
again,
teach don't.
you know, so what's the worst thing? It was a required piece, you didn't do it, I know that.
Yeah.
Now, if you were asking me, some of Lyle, you know, if I were to think about taping a lecture and put up afterwards, I probably really don't care who's seen
No.
that. If on the other hand, there are times I've had to travel and I'm hosting a lecture for class, and it's a substitute,
Yeah.
I may want to know who actually looked
Yeah.
at that.
Yeah, I've used it.
Part of participation
Yeah.
grades or whatever mechanism I want to
I've used it in class where I've had an assignment that
Yeah.
averages very, very low, and the students are a bit upset, you know, saying the fact that, you know, well, you marked this far too harshly, and my response was, well, considering that there's 52 of you in the room and only 4 of you watched the tutorial video that told you exactly how to do the assignment, those 4, by the way, did very well. I don't want to hear about it.
I don't see
Yeah.
a breach there because it would be no different than, I mean, I'm trying to use the equivalent to a classroom setting.
Yeah.
If you were in the classroom, I can walk in today and say, who are the 4 people in this room today? And then de facto, who's not here?
Who's not? Yeah.
So I don't see that any different than it's now an electronic mechanism. If you were to leave class early, I'm going to see that. Right? So without being rude, I've
These
got
are
another
really-
meeting at 2, I'm going to walk out on, you're all going to see the fact I left.
Yeah.
So I
And then we'll talk about them.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
These are
Go see
really,
Dean, won't be the first time.
and these are such deep questions.
Yeah.
And there's so many sessionals, and as a sessional, I don't have access to you to talk to over the coffee table or about these deep questions.
Yeah.
You know, but I've been teaching a long time. My heart goes out to the 70, I think, other sessionals in our faculty who aren't here. And You know, I know you're offering this, which I can't thank you enough for. In the last one, I did make changes in my teaching. Thank you, Lyle. I just wonder how we're helping so many students when we have so many sessionals not to be available for these conversations.
Yeah, well, that's why we're recording this, and this is going to be sent out to, the link will be sent out so that everybody will be able to access this as well. David?
Yesterday, my first class, I encouraged everyone, you see something on the D2L site, download it to your hard drive. So you always have it, and if D2L goes down, you've got access to it. Now all of a sudden I've lost all means of tracking them, haven't I?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, well, I suppose it, well, they could...
Well, if they you know, but again, you know, unless the tracking is part of the evaluated criteria, unless, you know, there's unless it's tied to your grading structure.
I have an interest in knowing how many people actually read this document, what parts they read and so forth, but, I mean, there's no way to tell it once they put it on. All I can do is maybe tell that they downloaded the document, and after that you have no idea whether they read it all or read none of it, right?
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah. Gave me great ideas.
Ginger?
I'm thinking about giving a presentation to the reading students for the reading course. Is it possible that to ask students to do a presentation, record that, and submit as a video, something like that?
Absolutely. So this is where one of the things that I do is with my distance class, there's a group project that they work on. And because everybody's distant, they have, in order to form the groups, I let them form the groups, but I do two things. Number one is I've got a personal information form that they complete where they identify themselves as far as the strengths on win. So how are they at writing, how are they at ideas, and how are they at numbers? So that they write themselves as far as their strength at ideas, writing, or numbers, and then they fill in what is my typical time that I'm available, you know, early morning, Monday, Wednesday, you know, and they've ticked the little boxes. They upload that form into a shared D2L Dropbox that everybody in the class can access. They also upload a 30 to 40 second introduction video. They just take their phone out, introduce themselves, tell people something neat about themselves. And so when they do their group formations, they can go in, see the people that they may not know, you know, hear what they're saying, look at their information form, and then reach out to them and say, hey, we're looking for somebody who's got a strength. Because I require all of my student groups to have at least one person who's got a strength in writing, one person who's got a strength in ideas, and one person who's got a strength in numbers. So the other two, because they're groups of 5, can be made up of everything, but we need to have at least one person that's got a strength on each of the 3 core skills that are going to be needed to effectively complete the assignments. Because it's not just about grabbing your friends, it's about making sure that you got a balanced team. And I did that last semester for the first time, and it got a lot of positive feedback. And I even heard from another class that people were saying, oh yeah, you know, I had this prof and they had us decide who we were, because they were in a group and nobody had the ability to do any numbers. Everybody was just, you know, nobody was a good writer. And they were like, yeah, well, I had a prof that sort of had to put us into teams on the basis of our skills. You know, it's self-reported skills, obviously, but it still is there. And so the students are uploading a video introduction as part of that. Last semester, I had an assignment where I wanted them to present a case analysis. And so I had them prepare a recorded presentation, and they then uploaded it, and the other students watched each of the uploaded presentations of the student groups. These were all distance. You know, these were not.
Asking the question about distance courses?
Something like that, reading course.
Yeah, reading course. You know, this is where, yeah, absolutely.
Reading courses are things where you only have to enroll with 2 students and something like that. Yeah. But it could be on campus too.
Yeah, and so this. Yeah, and so this is where there's very simple to use tools to be able to do that, and that's where we'll show you a couple of those in just a minute.
So they just, okay.
Yeah. You know, if they've got a Mac, it's super easy. Because with a Mac, QuickTime on a Mac has the ability to do full screen recording and presentation recording and audio and video directly built within it. PC versions of QuickTime don't have that anymore, but there's a really great tool called Screencast-O-Matic, which you can do 15-minute recordings with their free program. And if you go to the premium one that has no branding, that gives you unlimited time, that's like, I think, $15 for a year to buy that. And so we'll show you, Screencast-O-Matic is one of the easiest ones to do that. Let's take a 5-minute break. And then when we come back, we'll take a look at how we can sort of incorporate Screencast-O-Matic and start to do some of these capturings and putting this stuff together. Work for everybody?